Uh, One other thing I want to just mention to you, and it has to do with elixirs. We have always been fond, and I've got a whole lecture on tonics and elixirs that show sort of over time and into modern time, very modern time, that we continue to be fond of elixirs and tonics. Okay, now a tonic typically is something that is a liquid. You take, you might take it in the fall to fortify yourself for the winter. It certainly was believed that you needed it at the end of winter, okay, because your body had been depleted, with the cold and the difficult times of winter. So you would take this tonic, okay? Or you would take an elixir. These are actual elixir bottles. Okay, you might want to take a look at these. Very popular as today is that we don't want to go to a provider and not come back with some kind of prescription. Prescribe something for me. I need some pills. I need this thing to go away. Just give me something, okay? And make it go away. Okay, well, that's what the elixirs were supposed to do. So there's an interesting history of elixirs. One of the famous elixirs of the time was called Daffy's elixir, perhaps from which we get the term. You become Daffy. Okay, he called himself Dr. Daffy. He was not a doctor, but it was good, call yourself doctor. His elixir was an international success, okay? He had, listen to this now, 38 overseas agents. He was in England selling, okay, Daffy's elixir. He had 132 of them in England, other agents, and they were sold by booksellers and grocers and shoemakers and ship's captains, not by doctors, not by apothecaries, but by shoemakers, okay, and people like that. And they sold like crazy, okay? There was big money, okay, to be made with elixirs, okay? And Daffy was one of the all-time greats at it. Now, this is what Daffy's elixir, he says, cured. Gout, stones, ulcers of the kidney, languishing melancholy, shortness of breath, colic, pulmonary consumption, green sickness. I'm not quite sure what that means. It's not part of the green movement. I don't know what green sickness was. Some of you might be able to help me with that. Scurvy, dropsy, coughs, wheezing, fevers, and rickets. All in Daffy's bottle, okay? Well, the truth of the matter was, a lot of people who took it felt better. So, if they felt better, despite the fact that it did everything from gout to rickets, was Daffy unethical to sell it? It depends on where you're coming from in terms of your notion of what are the elements of medicine. Mrs. Winslow's soothing syrup was another great seller. Mrs. Winslow, who depicted herself on her label as a little old lady that you would look at and you'd go, oh, I trust her with anything she told me to do, okay? Well, her soothing syrup, principally, was for teething. There was a huge concern in the 18th century about babies teething, I don't know why, but it was a big thing. So if you could provide something, to give to the baby, who's teething, then this was a wonderful thing. Well, Mrs. Winslow had the thing. She had a soothing syrup, okay, that she would give you. It turns out that in Mrs. Winslow's soothing syrup was a substantial amount of it was flavored with anise, okay, but there was a substantial amount of alcohol and morphine. Well, baby's gums went numb. Stopped complaining, okay? And Mom thought that was pretty good, okay? You know, there's a lot of supposition that maybe Mom took a little soothing syrup herself, you know, to calm things down, because, hey, it was pretty good stuff, okay? Enterprising entrepreneurs in the colonies, which is why, you know, we built this great country, you know, from the middle class. Okay, merchants were you know, starting to really flourish here. Said, I could do an elixir. Okay, one of Dr. Carr's great ambitions in his medical life was to invent a new kind of elixir, because if it caught on, it was a gold mine. Well, the entrepreneurs were having difficulty getting Daffy's elixir shipped in from England. Okay, there were embargoes, there was non-importation, you know, rules. Okay, it was very expensive to get, you know, so they couldn't always get it. So good colonial entrepreneurs started to save the bottles from Daffy's elixir, and they concocted their own. Okay, and they made into the elixir whatever it was they thought Daffy was doing. They didn't know what exactly he was doing, but they concocted their own elixir, sold it under his label, and people were delighted to get it. And, as we often understand in terms of the mind-body connection, a lot of them felt better after they took it. Okay? Now, they probably had a substantial amount of alcohol, you know, and maybe a little narcotic in there too, okay? But they felt they were being treated well. Chocolate was another one. I won't go into the chocolate, but, you know, and I don't find it too much, except they used it as flavoring. It's 18th century chocolate. But we know chocolate makes us feel better. We just, you know, and we've analyzed it now, so we know there's a chemical substance in it that probably is the reason we feel better, you know, when we take chocolate. But we often use it, you know, when we're a little down. Have a little chocolate, you know, we'll be all right. And we keep reinforcing that, as you Harry Potter fans know, that when Harry is attacked by the Dementors, and heaven knows you and I are attacked by Dementors every week in one form or another, okay? The thing to do when you're attacked by a Dementor is to have a little chocolate, because it restores your strength. Well, there you have it, you see. Some things are very simple, you know. Daffy's elixir, you know, and chocolate. You'd be all right, you know, you'd be all right.